What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm Element.
I'm Flip.
And we get together every Sunday to talk about all things pop culture. This week, The Witcher.
The Witcher! Because The Witcher was something that I only heard about in the video games that kind of way, right? Like, I know it's a video game, I know it's a very graphic video game, but I didn't know any much more about it, which put me in a really different perspective because just watching Game of Thrones, Arthur Chronicles, and all these high fantasies that we enjoy, The Witcher was something I was looking forward to because, you know, there has to be something else that would take the place that Game of Thrones has left behind. We had that for so long. What do we have now? You know, other than the high fantasy dramas that we've been watching. And so my expectations were, is it going to be good enough?
And you know, as a fan of the franchise going into this before it was actually out, I had reservations. You know, we had the cast reveal of Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia.
He's very handsome and he's very built, so he already has that kind of powerful like demeanor, the protagonist that you're looking for when you're looking for like a warrior or like a hero, especially for something that's kind of takes place in like kind of a medieval setting slash magical high fantasy setting. I didn't have any reservations, but I know a lot of people were not happy about that selection.
Yeah, I had my doubts, only initially because I knew how Geralt looked, you know, from the books and from the games, and he wasn't very built. He was the athletic sort of like body type.
He was a little bit more sinewy and like kind of long.
Like he was slim. He's not like a bodybuilder, but you know, he is a mutant, so he gets a lot of his strength from his body augmentation and just the training that comes with being a Witcher.
Yes, and that's what's fascinated me the most is that I didn't know much about the Witcher. Like, obviously he's a mutant, so I don't know what that means. He was created to be the Witcher, but what really got me into this was the very first episode when he became the Butcher of Blaviken. That first sequence, that sword fight sequence in the alleys was amazing, and that really set the tone for me. I was like, is the fighting going to be this awesome? Is it going to be this graphic? And from then on, from that point on, like the answer was yes. Like I was all in after seeing that.
Yeah. So my reservations about Cavill, you know, just as I said, his body type, his look wasn't exactly what I was used to. But yeah, you know, going off of what you had just said about the first fight scene with in Blaviken, first of all, when he first spoke, you know, as a gamer himself, Cavill made it pretty clear he was trying to emulate the original voice actor from the games. So, 1 point there.
Yeah.
Second point, you know, or the rest of the points really was the fighting because, you know, The Witcher from the games, in particular the games because you can't really visualize it from the books, but from the games, The Witcher fights with a very balletic approach. He does a lot of pirouettes with his large sword, and he does a lot of spin attacks, and the way Cavill approached that, it looked like it sold it to me.
Yeah, I think he trained for months to do some sword fighting. And what also stood out to me for the very first time was using magical spells with his hands too to be part of his repertoire. And that was like, whoa, what is this? It's like X-Men / Game of Thrones / you know, everything that you would have ever imagined, Dungeons and Dragons, RPGs, Final Fantasy, all of that stuff, all combined together in this nice mix of cocktail that I think is really worth your watch.
Yeah, and I think the final thing that sold me with Henry Cavill on Geralt is him saying Geralt's famous line when he's speaking to Stregobor. If I had to choose between two lesser evils, I'd rather not choose. It's just evil. Lesser, greater, middling. And if you're a fan of the Witcher series, you'll know what I mean.
Oh. That is a really good point because for a lemming like me, like I had no idea like any of the premises or the backstories of all this stuff. When the law of surprise comes into play, I was like, what is the law of surprise? Like, what is all this? I had to like text you. I was like, what does this mean? I had to go on Google. And so if I had to say one thing that could be, well, not the downfall of this show, but like the one negative aspect of this show is it's heavily made for the gamers and the book fans of The Witcher. But if you're going into it without knowing any of the premise whatsoever, you're kind of left wanting or like needing to really kind of find out more information. Otherwise, you're kind of like lost, and then it kind of takes you a little bit to get into it just because you don't know any of the history.
This is where I would disagree a little bit, because even as a fan, you know, you have certain aspects of the world that's being built that, you know, you're going to experience as a non-fan. So even a non-fan will not know about the law of surprise and try to research it as you did. And that's part of world building. You know, you're trying to get familiar with the world that they're in, the laws of their kingdoms. And it was the same thing with Game of Thrones. There's a lot of things that we had to find out, like
absolutely.
the laws of taking the black and you know, sending your prisoners off to fight or defend the wall. You know, all of these kind of world building aspects are really things that draw you into the world. So I would say it's less of a negative aspect and more towards like the world building aspect.
You guys feel like me, where I was kind of like wanting to like do a little bit more research? Of course, it's probably, you're right on that aspect. Any kind of world building show, you have to kind of, you know, go into it not knowing everything, and you have to research to find out more. I think that's what's the good part about it. The best part about it is because it makes you want to go find out more. And then when you do, it's really rewarding.
Now, the biggest takeaway for me in terms of all of these different aspects of high fantasy is, of course, you know, as part of world building, you have character development. And the characters in The Witcher, you know, coming from a fan standpoint, is just brilliant. The way they treated Yennefer, the way that they actually used Jaskier's real name in the Polish version of The Witcher versus his US name, Dandelion. I don't know who's running things in the, you know, the localization team, but Jaskier is a better name than Dandelion.
Jaskier is way better than Dandelion.
And so
I love that character too, because he provided the comic relief in an otherwise, you know, somber and sad world, right? Like it's all nothing but dread, war, and like magic. It's just like everything is so evil, it feels like. But then Jaskier comes in and throw a coin to your Witcher. He's made everything so light.
It was a very like authentic portrayal of a bard or a minstrel, you know, traveling around the world and spreading the legends of Geralt and turning people's perceptions of him around.
And Yennefer, oh my god, Yennefer is amazing in this show. Like, I've never heard of her, the actress, Shalatra, Anya Shalatra is beautiful, powerful, amazing, charismatic. I can go on, and she's beautiful. She's got really, really nice boobs. But that's all down to that for you. But that's also like part of it, right? It's like, it's kind of like they do nudity in a classy way. It's not when we first saw Game of Thrones, there was tons of nudity. It was almost like a little bit too much. It was like in your face. But the way they do it, it's in situation. They do it in a classy way where it's not just for gratuitous, you know, for viewing pleasure of just seeing boob.
And that's another aspect of the character development which I think really, really works in this series, is that everyone seems to be on kind of like equal footing in terms of having the time to explore their characters. There's even 2 or 3 episodes in this first season where you don't see Henry Cavill at all. It's all about Yennefer, and it's all about Aretuza and her training. And like, you know, as you say, like they handle the nudity in a classy way. It's kind of like they have the male gaze with the nudity, but they also have the female perspective of like all of these things that they're going through, like giving up a childbirth or being able to procreate by, you know, undergoing this enchantment so that she becomes a mage. And so the female perspective is really kind of like up there in this first season, and they did a really good job on that part.
Yeah, there's lots of female empowerment in this show. She started off in this show with a hunchback, and just the way she portrayed that character made me feel really sorry for her. It made me like really root for her, to be on her side. I was like, get your revenge, girl. Take that chaos and just blow everybody out, kill everybody, kill the whole world, just so you can get your revenge.
Don't reserve your chaos.
Yeah, exactly. She really stood out. Really awesome performance by her. At the end of the day, my take for The Witcher, coming from a perspective of not knowing any of the history or the source material, I thought it was amazing, an amazing first season of The Witcher.
Of course, my take of the entire season 1 is everything that I just mentioned. Character development, everybody got their equal share of like airtime and development on screen. You got to see so many stories unfold. Ciri's story of her kingdom falling, Yennefer's training with Aretuza, and Geralt's adventures, slaying monsters. And it hasn't really gotten to the meat and bones of his main story. And so, this is all set up and world building, and the show creates this unique feeling of playing the game, watching the show. The first few episodes gave me a feeling of going around towns, talking to NPCs, gathering side quests, and slaying monsters, and that's a really unique feeling to get from a TV show.
What I will admit, though, is that now I am more drawn to playing this game now that I've seen The Witcher versus reading the books, or even before, even knowing you've said it to me more than a couple times. You should play The Witcher. You should play The Witcher, and I see all the comments and reviews. It's such a good game. It garnered so many awards. Now I'm probably gonna check it out.
Yeah, and so my final remarks on this is that very faithful to the source material. There's only a few omissions here, probably for time and budget, but a lot of what you're seeing in the first season is straight out of the material, and it's fantastic.
Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. That is our video and a review for The Witcher Season 1, available now on Netflix. Let us know what you thought of this first season in the section below, the comment section below. And we still have the Bang Wongest Game t-shirts merch in our Watching Sunday store and Teespring. The promo code will be in the description below.
Yes, subscribe for more videos from us. Turn on notifications so you know when we post new videos, primarily Mondays and Thursdays if possible. And we just got done watching The Rise of Skywalker, and I'm gonna have a positive review of that tomorrow, Monday. Whenever you're seeing this, it's gonna be the Monday following when The Rise came out. And so, with that said,
guys, hope you have an amazing holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year, whatever you celebrate. Lots of drinking, lots of eating. We'll see you next time.